Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Two things we're watching. Number one, it's a little stickier out there for us this morning. A better chance of rain and some summer heat headed our way in a couple of days. Also watching a tropical wave that could begin to develop, but it's way out into the Atlantic. I'll show it to you.
And sinkholes shut down. Today we expect the timeline for repairs to this apex road to come into sharper focus.
And autopsy questions. The reasons Florida investigators are not ready to definitively say they've located a missing 18-year-old man from Freeway Verena. Stories as you are waking up this morning here on WRAL News and Fox 50. Come on, stop by and join us. I'm Chris Levinger.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Yeah, happy Monday. Whole new week.
Was that a high five moment?
Oh, okay,
Sorry,
we're doing a high five.
I may have misread that.
High five, Chris Levinger.
It
is Monday. Let's get over to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center, talking about maybe some rain we could see today.
Yes, we're going to increase our chance for rain for today, especially, say, late morning into the afternoon. Right now, things are pretty quiet. We've had a few sprinkles over there around Moore County, a little bit of that happening right now. But for the most part, it's a nice dry start. But getting closer to lunchtime, it climbs to 40%, and then into the afternoon and evening around 60%. That still means that, just a little over half of us are likely to see any rain. And even then, that's maybe ambitious. We do have a low risk for flooding for today. Any of the cells that pop up are likely to produce some heavy downpours. But again, not everybody's going to see that. Fenton and Cary looking cloudy right now and a little warm and muggy too. Our dew point's at 72, so that's muggy again. We had a nice break from some of the humidity over the weekend, but it's back. 74 is our current temperature, and we'll only climb into the low 80s. Even though it's muggy, we stay cool today because of the cloud cover. Watching this system that's moving off the coast of Africa, and there's a 90% chance that it develops at least into a tropical depression and possibly a tropical storm. The model plots just keep trekking it west, but a lot can happen to this storm, and it's way too early to be concerned about it just yet. We'll take a closer look coming up in just a bit. Ken?
Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We've got some breaking news on the southern loop of the Belt Line and the eastbound lanes of I-40 near South Saunders. Raleigh firefighters working a vehicle fire right now. There, one or two lanes are closed, but you can see that traffic is still getting through. As we isolate the Belt Line this morning, here's what we're talking about in terms of what you're looking at for that delay. Right now, that southern loop of the Belt Line, that's the delay of those eastbound lanes right there. We're also seeing a little bit of delay coming off of that I-87, I-440 interchange. So definitely, if this is part of your morning commute, give yourself some extra time, especially if you're coming in from Roseville this morning. You're looking at a 7-minute delay that will get you to I-540 this morning. So definitely something that you want to keep in mind, especially if you're in a rush and running late this morning. As far as other routes coming into the capital city, very little to no delays. Our friends in Wake Forest, you're looking at a 5-minute delay. Now, we are noticing most of the routes in Durham are delay-free at this hour, but we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown on I-885 this morning. We're looking at maybe a 6-minute delay either way going in and out of Durham on I-885. You're getting ready to head out the door. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
All right, thank you, Ken. Durham crews were at the scene of an overnight townhome fire. This happened on Riverwalk Terrace near North Roxborough Street. The WRAL Breaking News Tracker was on scene early this morning. Durham Fire says crews put out the fire quickly when they arrived. The person living there was cooking at the time. The fire department says the person will not be able to stay in the townhome, but has family in the area. Luckily, nobody was hurt. And today we expect to get a clearer view of what it'll take to repair a huge sinkhole that has shut down an Apex Road. Olive Chapel Road collapsed with the flash flooding last week. An update is expected to come later today from the DOT. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is live in Apex as town leaders are preparing for a repair process, Kelsey, that they say could take months.
Yes, Michelle, it sure could. So today we are expecting to get that update from NCDOT about this massive sinkhole that's here on Olive Chapel Road in Apex. So we've been staying on top of the repair process since that sinkhole formed last week. Check out this map of where exactly this road is closed. Now you can take a closer look at this video from Drone 5 to show you what that sinkhole really looks like down there. So NCDOT says a failed drain pipe was already already scheduled to be replaced is what caused this. Apex Town Council member Terry Mahaffey says he's hoping they can temporarily open part of this street. Drivers are now forced to use nearby neighborhoods and detours. Mahaffey explains the impact of last week's storms.
This event was massive. It was measured as over a 200-year event in Apex. And that means when so much water is falling so quickly, whether it's pre-development, post-development, the water can't be absorbed fast enough.
NCDOT says that they plan to have this repair completed by the end of November, but there's a chance that this process could take a lot longer than that. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Apex.
More tests need to be completed before Florida authorities are certain that a body found this weekend belongs to a missing Fuquay-Varina man. Family members say that Giovanni Pelletier was visiting with family in the Orlando area when he disappeared. The sheriff says the medical examiner's preliminary autopsy did not notice any visible signs of foul play or trauma. The retention pond where the body was found is just off the interstate south of the Tampa-St. Petersburg area. Deputies responded to the pond on Friday after family members found the body near the edge of the water. And the sheriff says law enforcement did previously search that same area. Pelletier was last seen on August 1st in Mims, Florida, and additional tests, including a toxicology test, are being done to determine the identity of the person who was found and the cause of death.
Cumberland County Commissioners are meeting this morning to pick a new sheriff to replace Ennis Wright. The meeting starts at 9 o'clock this morning. He retired in June after nearly 30 years of service. Wright made history as the county's first African-American sheriff. Applicants who submitted materials by the deadline early last week will have a chance to speak before the board at the courthouse. The appointment will fill the remainder of Wright's term.
This morning in Johnston County, there's an event to help people in the process of getting their passports. The Department of State is holding special passport acceptance fairs more frequently across the state. And today's will be happening at the Cleveland High School. And these events are designed for first-time passport holders to get a passport book or a passport card, which are both Real ID compliant. So if you're not able to get an appointment at the DMV to get a Real ID for upcoming travel, a passport is an alternative. An appointment is required for today's event at Cleveland High School, and you can go to WRAL.com to see where you can go without an appointment if you need help with processing paperwork for a passport. State Highway Patrol is investigating after a person was hit and killed on I-95, and troopers say it happened near Benson early yesterday morning. The person was hit by a commercial vehicle, and the driver is not facing charges. The name of the person who died, that has not been released just yet, but we are working to learn why the person hit was walking on the interstate in the first place.
A woman faces multiple charges after a motorcyclist died in a crash in Raleigh. Police say 41-year-old Cynthia Lucas was driving on Yonkers Road Saturday night when she turned in front of the motorcyclist. The rider, 55-year-old Lewin Stewart Jr., crashed and died at the scene. Police say Lucas told them she did not see the motorcycle. Lucas is charged with failure to yield, unsafe movement, and misdemeanor death by vehicle.
New this morning in Orange County, the DOT will close the on-ramp to I-40 east from New Hope Church Road, and that ramp will be closed for the next 3 nights from 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. And just so you know, a detour will be posted.
Students in our viewing area are heading back to the classroom this week. Today is the first day of class for students in Granville County, as well as middle school and high school students in Warren County. Nash County Schools has its first day tomorrow. Clinton City Schools also start today. And WRAL has all of the latest on the back-to-school season on our website. Just head to WRAL.com and search Back to School. School resource officers in Nash County are getting ready for the start of the new year. Sheriff Keith Stone is holding a joint session with the SBI today for mandatory behavioral threat assessment training. This training comes just 1 week after the officers completed training that focused on students with autism.
The Wake County school system is making some major changes to how it serves students with disabilities. District leaders plan to provide more training for staff and to make sure that all staff know what their roles are. The changes are happening 3 years after an independent review found schools' relationships with parents were often deteriorating. They said not enough staff knew enough about working with students with disabilities. WRAL Education Insider Emily Walkenhorst, she dug into the changes and the report behind all of this. You can read more about it at WRAL.com.
Keeping his promise, a comedian makes an appearance at a Charlotte event less than 24 hours after being shot. The motivation that kept him from canceling.
And a course in defensive driving, the program that gives new drivers a unique experience behind the wheel.
And we get back to a wetter pattern starting today as we get into the afternoon. We see a better chance for showers and thunderstorms. I'll show you why we could see flooding in a few places coming up. 812, taking a look at dual Doppler 5000 radar. A couple sprinkles trying to kind of move into parts of the Sandhills there in Moore County. You might see a sprinkle or two. Definitely a lot of cloud cover. And as we get through the day today, especially around and just after lunchtime, it's going to go to 40 to then 60% chance that we see some rain. That means that not everybody will see it, but it is pretty muggy out there. We've seen some big changes there. So we'll see some heavy downpours in a few places this afternoon. Right now, temperatures are in the mid 70s. Lots of cloud cover. The clouds stick around all day, but we've shifted to a southerly flow. So it is feeling a lot more tropical out there than it did yesterday. It was, we didn't have too much humidity to have to deal with. But with the cloud cover, it does keep our temperatures cool. We'll see highs in the low 80s this afternoon, again, with a chance of some scattered thunderstorms. Okay, so we're also tracking the tropics right now. There's a wave coming off the coast of Africa that could develop. Meteorologist Chris Michaels coming up to talk about how long it takes to get a storm to move from Africa toward the United States. Ken?
All right, Elizabeth, we're staying on top of that situation in I-40 eastbound there, South Saunders. Raleigh firefighters working this vehicle fire right now. In the clearing phase, you got a couple of lanes blocked, but the good news is traffic is still getting through, as you can see from this live cam network. Now, in terms of the major routes coming into the capital city, you're looking at a 5-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest and US 1 Capitol Boulevard, if you will. For the most part, most of the delays in Durham are really happening here on I-885. You're looking at an 8-minute delay if you're using I-885 to get to I-40 this morning. Just a 4-minute delay heading into the Bull City.
A man who opened fire outside of the CDC headquarters reportedly blamed the COVID vaccine for making him depressed and suicidal. That's according to an anonymous law enforcement source. And that same source said the suspected shooter, Patrick White, tried to get into the building until security stopped him. A neighbor said White also expressed anti-vaccine ideas, and he reportedly blamed the COVID vaccine for making him sick. 33-year-old DeKalb County police officer David Rose was killed in that shooting.
Multiple journalists in Gaza were killed in an Israeli airstrike. Prominent Al Jazeera journalist Anas al-Sharif was killed along with 4 other colleagues. Israel had previously threatened him. The Israeli military accused al-Sharif of leading a Hamas cell, which the journalist had previously denied. Al-Sharif was near the entrance of a hospital when he was killed. At least 7 others were killed in the strike as well.
A Memphis comedian said he is not slowing down after being shot in Charlotte over the weekend. Mario Bradley, known as Grove Hero, was one of 3 people injured in a shooting at a Charlotte shopping center Saturday night. He shared on social media that he was shot in the spine and could not walk, but he still was able to attend a community event that he sponsored the next day at the same location. People saw him and they were, quite frankly, surprised.
It says that, you definitely have to have perseverance. And even when things happen to you, you just can't give up. And I was shocked to see that he still came out the next day.
And Bradley says he plans to continue his current tour and expects to be better and walking again in a couple of weeks. But at last check, no one's in custody for the shooting.
Dramatic video shows the roofs of 2 housing units being blown off at the Nebraska State Penitentiary after severe storms blew through over the weekend. Look at this video here. Take a look at this. This happened Saturday night. 387 inmates had to be relocated after this. Oh, my goodness. Officials with the prison say, luckily, with all of this, nobody was hurt. Nebraska public media reported winds as high as 90 miles per hour in eastern Nebraska. Tens of thousands of people lost power, and at least 1 person was killed at a state park near Omaha.
Significant damage from that storm. The first hurricane of the 2025 season likely forms this week. It's off the coast of Africa right now. How long could that take to move across the Atlantic, and why are we talking about it already? Well, we have meteorologist Chris Michaels here to answer those questions in today's Ask the Meteorologist.
Hey, Chris. Yeah, so we're talking about it already because of the amount of chatter it's garnering on social media. So that's part of it. Another part of it is I'm actually kind of surprised this isn't a named storm already. This is a live look at it off the coast of Africa, and it's pretty neatly defined. In fact, the National Hurricane Center says they may already name it by the 11 a.m. advisory. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. But yeah, it's more than 3,000 miles away, which means there's a whole lot that can and will change between now and then. As it moves across the Atlantic, yes, first hurricane of the season likely to form. Where exactly it's going to be 10 plus days from now, that's admittedly a question mark, because that's about how long it would take for it to travel across the Atlantic. Even 7 days out, heading toward this weekend, don't cancel beach plans, because this thing is still going to be hung out over sea. And assuming that we can have a front or a trough of some sort across the eastern U.S., that would guide it away from us heading into next week. So that's what we're hopeful for. It's what the data is showing right now. But we'll keep you posted to any potential changes on all WRAL platforms.
We know you will, Chris. Thank you. A unique driving course is giving teenagers a chance to get hands-on practice during emergencies. The Brakes Teenager Defensive Driving Program allows students to apply what they learn in driver's ed on a controlled course. Teens were at the State Highway Patrol Training Center in Raleigh this weekend for this, and they practiced steering out of skids and overcoming distracted driving. The people behind the program say that these young drivers are 64% less likely to have a car crash during their early driving years.
Not a substitute for driver's education, but it fills the gap in what these student drivers should do in an emergency situation.
I feel like most teens should be learning this because, you can't rely on the other person to already know something you don't know.
All right, facts. NCDOT reported more than 12,000 teenagers car crashes in our state last summer, and the next Brakes program in Raleigh is scheduled for October.
A school supply drive in South Carolina got an extra special donation ahead of the new school year. Inmates from Perry Correctional Institution, just outside of Greenville, put together a $500 donation to the United Way School Tools Drive to help local students with supplies. The warden says the men got the idea to pool together money from their own fund that they have. United Way CEO Megan Barb talked about what this means.
I think that the men who are incarcerated at Perry Correctional maybe have some lived experience on their own need and their own journey as students in our community, and felt very compelled to do their part to make sure that students who are just like them in that K-12 system may need that extra support.
The contributions from the inmates will impact over 3,000 local students who benefited from this year's drive.
All right, swing over to weather with meteorologist Elizabeth Garter. It was nice this morning to wake up. Didn't hear rain on my roof. That was great, but still kind of a hot one as you wake up.
Yeah, it is. It's a little warmer and more muggy than what we saw over the weekend. We saw some sunshine, nice low humidity, really pleasant weekend. A little warm yesterday. We made it into the mid 80s, but a completely different pattern change now. Our flow is coming out of the south. That's bringing muggy air right back into our region and enough moisture for a few isolated showers as we get through the day. You can see between now and lunchtime, it could be a sprinkle or two, but we're not looking at much heavy. Now, once we get closer to the evening commute, there'll be some pockets where we have some heavy rain. We'll have some downpours, but notice it is not covering the entire viewing area by any means. But we will have that potential from around 4 or 5, really all the way up until around 10 or 11. We do have a low-end flood risk for almost the entire state, and then it's a medium risk closer to the coast. But the coverage of rain today is certainly likely to be spotty. It'll be a 60% chance, and then a 40 to 50% chance Tuesday through Friday. So just a little bit of a different pattern. It is going to be hotter, more humid. There's more moisture in the atmosphere. Tropical update. There's been a lot of talk about the tropics over the weekend, and there'll certainly be a lot of talk going forward. There's a chance that a wave coming off the coast of Africa could form. Of course, meteorologist Chris Michaels was just talking about this a couple of minutes ago, and he was talking about what may happen to this as it continues to head off to the west. You can see it looks like it's fairly well formed coming off the coast of Africa right now. So we're just waiting. It's possible that in the 11 o'clock advisory, we'll have some sort of news. But as Chris said, it is way too early to be concerned about this in any way, shape, or form. There are a lot of elements happening in the atmosphere that'll be changing over the next 10 plus days. Remember, he talked about the fact that it's, well over 10 days away from, even approaching the United States. It's about 3,000 miles plus away from North Carolina. Not that it's headed straight for North Carolina. That's not what that says. It's just giving you an idea of how far away it is. What we do know is that we're looking at much hotter conditions as we move to the end of the week, and the heat index is going to go up back into the triple digits. Nobody wants that, but I'll show you how hot it will feel coming up, Ken.
Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. This is what's happening on I-40 eastbound near South Saunders Street, the exit. This was a vehicle fire, really in the clearing phase. You can see one of the firefighting units getting ready to pull out. But the good news is, as you can see, traffic is definitely getting through on that stretch of the southern loop of the Beltline. Here's the delay. You're seeing it right there, starting around South Saunders, going all the way back to Gorman Street. But it's a situation it's about to clear up relatively quickly. Here's a live look at the northern loop of the Beltline, I-40, New Bern Avenue. You can see the westbound lanes moving away from us and traffic beginning to flow nicely in both directions, which is really good news this time of the morning. As for major routes coming into the capital city, very little to no delays. Fenton, Wake Forest, you're looking at a 3-minute delay if you're coming in on US 1, Capitol Boulevard, if you will. Over in Durham, very little to no delays on all of our major routes. I do want to isolate I-885 because we're seeing a major slowdown there as a result, likely of that crash that you're seeing right now. Right now, you're going into Durham, you're looking at a 5-minute delay. If you're using I-885 to head to I-40, just a 1-minute delay.
All right, thank you, Ken. Lost luggage rights. You're probably owed more than just an apology. 5 on your sides. Keely Arthur shows you the money-saving rights every traveler should know.
And older than Earth, a deeper look at the meteorite that crashed into a Georgia home this summer.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Let's get over to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center, tracking the possibility for some rain later today.
We do have a couple sprinkles that have popped up down here in the Sandhills, namely there in Moore County. It's not much, but as we head through the afternoon, we're going to notice some heavier downpours starting as early as the middle of the afternoon and then moving into the evening. We could see that. Not everybody's going to see it, but we're seeing a lot more moisture in the atmosphere right now, so we could see some heavier downpours. It is gray in Durham this morning. Our temperatures are in the low to mid 70s, and you'll notice it feels a lot stickier. Our muggy meter's way back up at tropical. If you're headed out to the park today, it's likely to be fairly dry until maybe mid to late afternoon and cooler with the clouds. A high of just 82, Ken.
That's what's happening now at the WRAL Traffic Center. That scene with that vehicle fire in I-40 eastbound near South Saunders has cleared. You can see the burned out vehicle still there on the scene, but firefighters cleared out just a short time ago, and traffic is flowing along nicely in all directions. Basically, relatively no delays coming into the capital city, just a 4-minute delay if you're coming in from Wake Forest and US 1 Capitol Boulevard. The main issue we're seeing in Durham is on I-885 and those northbound lanes. As a result of this crash near TW Alexander Drive, you're looking at a 6-minute delay, those northbound lanes of I-885.
Thanks, Ken. Today, we're expecting to get an update from the NCDOT about this sinkhole on Olive Chapel Road in Apex. It formed during a flash flood last week. The repairs are expected to take months. Town leaders are hopeful they'll be able to reopen a portion of the road sooner. And Cumberland County commissioners will meet this morning to select a new sheriff. The meeting starts at 9. They're replacing Ennis Wright, who retired earlier this year before his term ended. Next on Fox 50, the body of a Fuquay-Varina man who disappeared in Florida may have been found. Why investigators are not ready to make that.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Two things to know. It is a little more humid for us today. We have more heat and humidity coming our way, but also a better chance for showers and storms starting today, following a tropical wave that could become a tropical depression soon. I'll show you what we know about it.
Road repair timeline. Why DOT leaders are calling the initial timeline to repair an Apex road a bit optimistic.
And questions unanswered. A local man who disappeared while visiting Florida is believed to have been found in a pond. What investigators are doing today in this case to bring some closure to his family. One of many stories we are tracking for you on your Monday morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
I'm Chris Levingood. You almost forgot it's Monday.
I
could tell.
It was Monday.
I could
it's
tell.
Monday,
See, your brain's not here right now because you're thinking about you getting married in 12 days. That's what you're thinking
it's
about.
It's very soon, yes.
Well, I tell you what, waking up this morning, Elizabeth, I'm waiting for the day that I don't walk outside and it's not muggy and it doesn't feel like I'm going to melt.
Exactly. And, another month or so, we get into September, things really begin to change. We had a really pleasant weekend, though. Our humidity was lower, temperature's not bad. We did make it into the mid 80s yesterday, but a big change in our weather pattern for today. Our flow's coming out of the south, so that's a tropical feel. We're looking at a few isolated showers down here across parts of Moore County. Carthage, you're seeing a little sprinkle. That's continuing to lift northward, but very little rain for us so far this morning, and I wouldn't expect to see much early on. This is a look at our chance for rain. We get into the afternoon, it's about a 40% chance. Into the evening, a 60% chance. We also have a low risk for flooding. Now, we're not likely to see a lot of widespread flooding. A few of the cells that develop are going to produce some heavy downpours, and there's just a very small chance. Taking a look at Fenton, you can see the gray skies. Our dew point's way up at 72. That's a lot higher than what we saw over the weekend. Our temperature right now, 74 across the triangle. Our temperatures this afternoon, because of the clouds, will actually stay cool in the low 80s. We're watching the tropics. We have a wave of low pressure that's moving off the coast of Africa, looking fairly well organized, and there's a 90% chance that it develops here, possibly even as early as the 11 o'clock advisory. So make sure you check in with us at noon on WRAL. We'll let you know. Right now, taking a look at the computer models, it just takes it west. It's way too early to know if it's going to affect land at all. Ken?
Happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, a handful of incidents dotting our live traffic map this morning. But a couple I want to bring your attention to. First, this crash on I-440 in the northern loop of the Beltline near Brentwood Road. We're not seeing any delays in the area, but I just thought you should know about it because the Beltline is so much a part of your morning commute. This crash on I-885 in the northbound lane heading into Durham, causing quite a bit of delays there on 885 in those northbound lanes. And here you see it right here. They just reconfigured the camera, and it's off to the shoulder of, or should say, the median right now. So it's traffic is beginning to get through there in I-885 northbound. So either way, you're still looking at a 6-minute delay. If you're going into Durham this morning, you might want to get off on Miami Boulevard and work your way into the Bull City. As far as the other major routes, very little to no delays on any of the other major routes heading into the Bull City. Similarly, here in the capital city, the main trouble spot, if you call it that, really, our friends in Wake Forest are looking at a 5-minute delay coming in on US 1 Capitol Boulevard. You're getting ready to head into the car. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Thank you, Ken. This morning, Durham firefighters are investigating after an overnight townhome fire. The WRAL breaking news tracker was on the scene just before 2 this morning. This happened on Riverwalk Terrace near North Roxborough Street. Durham Fire says crews put out the fire quickly when they got there. The person living there was cooking at the time. The fire department says the person has been displaced, but has family in the area. Luckily, nobody was hurt.
Drivers, just a heads up, we could learn when Olive Chapel Road and Apex will be repaired. Now, DOT leaders are set to give an update on that after last week's flooding led to a sinkhole shutting down the road. We've been telling you about that since it happened. In fact, WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is live on Olive Chapel Road and Apex right now. Last week, Kelsey, we were told maybe November. Now, maybe not the case.
Yes, Chris, but today we are expecting to get an update from NCDOT about this huge sinkhole here. Now, we've been staying on top of the repair process here on Olive Chapel Road since that sinkhole formed last week. Check out this map of where this road is closed here in Apex. And you can also take a closer look at the sinkhole itself in this video from Drone 5. NCDOT says a failed drain pipe that was already scheduled to be replaced is what caused this. Apex Town Council member Terry Mahaffey says he's hoping they can temporarily open part of this street. WRAL's Kirsten Clark spoke with him about how drivers are forced to use nearby neighborhoods as detours, and speeding could cause an issue.
Here's to see what the actual impact is going to be. Take a look at it. Also, increased enforcement could be a thing. The speed limit through a lot of these neighborhoods is 25 miles an hour, and often new drivers may not know that, and that's something we may have to enforce.
NCD is planning to reopen this road in late November, so we'll be sure to keep you updated on if they're actually able to make those plans, because they say that this process could take much longer than that. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Apex.
According to an autopsy result of an 18-year-old from Fuquay-Varina that was found dead in Florida, more testing still needs to be done. Manatee County Sheriff's deputies recovered Giovanni Pelletier's body on Friday. The medical examiner believes they still need more tests to determine it's really him. Detectives believe the body had been in the pond for several days. We learned that a family member was searching for Giovanni when they saw what appeared to be a body partially submerged at the edge of the pond and told deputies. The medical examiner says the cause of death is still pending.
Family and friends are gathering in Clayton today to celebrate the life of a UNC Wilmington student. A train hit and killed 21-year-old Ella Ryan Miller. She was leaving her job last Tuesday, and that's when investigators say she attempted to cross railroad tracks when she was hit. A celebration of life is happening for Miller in a field off Loop Road in Clayton, and the visitation is from noon to 1. The celebration of life starts at 1:30. Cumberland County Commissioners will meet this morning to choose the next sheriff, and they'll meet at 9 o'clock. Sheriff Ennis Wright retired in June after nearly 30 years of service, and he made history as the county's first African-American sheriff. Applicants for his job will have a chance to speak before the board at the courthouse, and the appointment will fill the remainder of Wright's term.
We are just days away from a critical summit between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. According to NBC News, the White House is now considering extending an invite to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Just last week, Putin said Ukraine was far from meeting its preconditions for face-to-face talks. Ukraine's ambassador says the president is, quote, ready to be anywhere to advance the agenda of peace. Over the weekend, top Ukrainian officials met in England with Vice President J.D. Vance. Today, White House Special Envoy Keith Kellogg is headed to Ukraine to continue those discussions.
Got to show you this video here. Neighbors in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, they're dealing with this as they wake up to a state of emergency. Torrential rain caused historic flooding and left some neighborhoods underwater. And video from a bridge above the Milwaukee River shows debris and water just rushing into downtown. There's even more video showing an overflowing river rushing over railroad tracks in Wauwatosa. Now, some places saw up to 11 inches of rain in just 24 hours. And meteorologists say that a flood alert will be in place for today. This morning in Johnston County, there's an event to help people in the process of getting their passports. The Department of State is holding special passport acceptance fairs for more frequently across the state. And today, it's happening at Cleveland High School. These events are designed for first-time passport holders to get a passport book and or a passport card, which are both Real ID compliant. So if you're not able to get an appointment at the DMV to get a Real ID for upcoming travel, a passport is an alternative. An appointment is required for today's event at Cleveland High School. You can go to WRAL.com to see where you can go without an appointment if you need help processing paperwork for your passport.
A driver died after having a medical emergency during a sportsman race at Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem. Officials say Robbie Brewer had a direct hit with the wall in turn 4 following a restart. Track officials had to peel back the roof of the car to remove him. He was taken to the hospital in an ambulance where he died. Bowman Gray Stadium released a statement that says in part, Robbie was a talented and passionate racer and highly respected competitor among his peers. Our thoughts and prayers are with Robbie's family and friends at this time.
A Moore County dog park will be closed today for storm cleanup. Martin Dog Park in Southern Pines was damaged during Chantal last month. The local Department of Parks and Recreation says the closure starts today, but they didn't say how long it'll stay closed. But they are asking people to avoid that area while teams are working.
We have an update to a story that we first brought you last month when a car crashed right into the front of a Sampson County restaurant. The owner of Hal's Grill says the restaurant's insurance will cover half of the restoration costs. They are holding a barbecue plate fundraiser on September 12th, and they have a GoFundMe page set up to help cover the remaining costs.
NVIDIA and Advanced Micro Devices agreed to pay the federal government 15% of their revenues from sales to China. That's according to the Financial Times. But to be clear, this is revenue from the sale of certain chips. In exchange, the two companies will get export licenses to sell chips in China. That's a reversal for the Trump administration. It put tough U.S. restrictions in place on chip sales to Beijing. It's unclear, though, how the administration will use that money from the two chip makers. And don't forget, the 2025 Clear the Shelters campaign, it is happening right now. That event is part of a nationwide effort to get pets out of shelters and into homes. Shelters across the area are participating, including Connie's Kittens. The Clear the Shelters campaign ends August 31st.
Missing luggage money. You may not know what you're entitled to if your luggage gets lost. 5 on your side's Keely Arthur explains what you need to know to get more than just your bag back.
And heat mapping research, why new findings could help handle surges of warmer weather across the nation.
And as we head to break, we'll take you live out to Pinehurst this morning. Very cloudy out there right now. We do have the chance for some showers on this cloudy day today, but we're also keeping a close eye on the tropics. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is tracking a system with the potential to become our first hurricane of the season.
8:44. The radar's been fairly quiet this morning, but I wanted to start with it just to, kind of tell you, yeah, there is some rain coming, and there actually are a few isolated showers that popped up again there in Moore County. Those are going to drift on up toward Lee and Chatham County. Not much rain this morning, nothing to really be too concerned about until around or just after lunchtime. It'll jump to 40%, and then closer to the evening commute around a 60% chance. But we're still not looking at widespread rain. It's just that there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere now, a lot more than what we saw over the weekend. So any of these cells could end up producing some pretty hefty downpours. Just be on the lookout for that. 74, Wilson, Durham, and in Fayetteville. Those clouds hanging around will keep our temperatures cooler today. Highs will only be in the low 80s. But we do have some hot weather in our forecast toward the end of the week and some much higher heat indices. We'll check that out coming up, Ken.
Elizabeth, we got that trouble spot there in I-885 in Durham as a result of this crash right now, causing some huge delays right near TW Alexander Drive. Let's take you outside and show you what we're talking about. This is a crash right now being worked on in the median. You can see traffic is still getting through on those two lanes heading into the Bull City this morning. So if you're heading into the Bull City, you're looking at a 5-minute delay. So keep that in mind. You might want to get off in Miami Boulevard and work your way into the Bull City.
And Jeff, welcome to the WRAL Live Center. I want to show you what's happening in Cape Canaveral, Florida here. This is just moments ago. I rolled the tape back so we could see the takeoff right here. This is a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket taking off. It's one of those Starlink missions, okay, that takes up satellites into low Earth orbit. That's exactly what it's doing right now. 28 new satellites will go into force into that low Earth orbit there. After the stage separation, this is the first stage of it. Then it comes back, and if you recall, it lands. I'm going to scrub forward in this video here to show you how it comes back down and lands right onto the drone ship that is in the Atlantic Ocean. This is kind of one of the coolest parts, I think, as it happens, a safe landing on that so they can reuse the rocket booster again.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Well, the summer is the busiest travel season, according to AAA. And if you've had a less than smooth travel experience, yes, I have, you're not alone. According to the Bureau of Transportation statistics, 5 in every 1,000 bags goes missing at the airport. 5 on your side's Keely Arthur shares the consumer safeguards you need to know about.
Listen up. If your bag is lost or goes missing, you're probably owed some money. Know your rights. In fact, Alaska Airlines has a 20-minute guarantee. So if you don't get your bag within 20 minutes, Alaska Airlines will either give you a $25 discount for a future flight or 2,500 miles. But no matter what airline you're on, file a claim, usually online, right away. If your bag is delayed, airlines must reimburse you for basics like toiletries and basic clothing while you're waiting for your bags to arrive. Make sure you keep all your receipts and don't splurge. They'll only cover essentials, not luxury items. If your bag is delayed for more than 12 hours on a domestic flight or 15 on an international flight, you should be able to get a refund for whatever you paid to check your bag. If your bag is not found, the airline needs to reimburse you up to $4,700 per bag on a domestic flight and around $1,700 for an international flight. And remember, if your bag is truly missing, the airline will cover much of what's inside of it. But they aren't required to cover certain items like cash, jewelry, even electronics. So it's best to keep those things with you in your carry-on, purse, or wallet. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
Today, officials at Fayetteville State University are holding a ceremony to dedicate their newest residency hall. During the celebration, FSU will recognize faculty, staff, lawmakers, and community partners whose contributions made the project possible. Today's event kicks off at 9 a.m. at Bronco Pride Hall.
Researchers are gathering data on how cities can adapt for hotter temperatures as the climate changes. Researchers at Arizona State University partnered with local teachers to track changes in temperature across several cities. And they did this using special sensors on bikes and electric vehicles. So far, their real-time heat mapping effort revealed parks with shade can be more than 5 degrees cooler than neighboring streets. And teams say this research can help cities make structures and green spaces more resilient to hotter temperatures.
If we don't do the research now to try to understand what works and what doesn't work, we can't inform the next generation of materials, the next generation of strategies, and we'll be stuck where we are today.
The hope is to use the research findings to help other communities reduce the risk of heat-related illnesses for their people.
A meteorite that crashed to Earth earlier this summer is older than our planet. The meteorite tore through the sky on June 26th and crashed into a home in the north central part of Georgia. Geologists examined the rock's fragments and determined it to be more than 4.5 billion years old, roughly 20 million years older than Earth. Researchers are still testing the space rock. Other pieces that fell will go on public display at Science Museum in Georgia. Wow.
Spider-Man's return and history on the baseball diamond.
Yeah, let's take a look at what's trending this morning. Actor Tom Holland back to work on the new Spider-Man movie. Sony released video of Holland on set of Spider-Man Brand New Day. This is the fourth installment of this Spider-Man series that Chris Lovingood is no doubt excited for.
Very true, very true.
The film is set to hit theaters July of 2026. I love Tom Holland. I think he's a great superhero.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tobey Maguire, great, but I genuinely love that Tom Holland can do both Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Exactly.
All right, MLB umpire Jen Powell made history on the baseball diamond. Yesterday in Atlanta, she became the first woman to call a major league game behind the plate. The day before, she made her MLB debut in the field during the Braves homestand against the Marlins, and she actually previously umpired at Durham's Bull games at 2023 and 2024 games.
Yeah, so some people watching may say, hey, I've seen her do the job. She looks familiar. Just so cool. I mean, come on.
Well, and you hope that little girls are watching going, hey,
I can do that too. Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. I love it. All right, let's get over to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Tracking quite a lot, Elizabeth.
Yeah, looking at the potential for some scattered showers and thunderstorms later this afternoon. It's a little muggier this morning than it was over the weekend. It was such a pretty weekend. Nice to get out after being such a wet week last week. A couple of isolated showers here in the northern part of Moore County, lifting up toward Chatham County. We're not likely to see much rain this morning. We take it to around or just after lunchtime, and we may start to begin to see a few more isolated cells popping up. There's lunchtime, still looking pretty quiet. It's likely to be a little bit more coverage by 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But notice, even there at 7, we're just not seeing a whole lot of activity out there. However, the cells that do develop are likely to produce some heavy downpours. So there may be just a few pockets where we could see as much as 1 inch to 2 inches of rain, depending on where all this sets up a little bit later on today. So we'll be on the lookout for that. We do have a low-end flood risk across the entire viewing area, but not everybody's going to see this flooding. Again, it will be just some isolated pockets. We take a look at Fenton and Cary, where it is cloudy right now. Temperature 74, but the dew point is at 72, and that means that it feels very muggy outside. 82 to 83 is what we're looking at, low to mid 80s for highs this afternoon, and that's going to keep us below normal again. This is a sort of an interesting perspective on our temperatures. So the hottest July on record at RDU, where the average temperature was 84. Now that's an average of the highs and the lows for the month. We take a look at the average temperature for the first part of August, 72, which is the second coolest on record. Looking ahead to the week ahead, we're going to average 80 degrees, so much closer to normal. We will throw in a couple of pretty hot afternoons, 96 Wednesday, 100 Thursday, and 98 Friday. That's the heat index, not the actual temperature, but that's what it will feel like. Also, watching the tropics, there's a disturbance that's moving off the coast of Africa, but close eye on it. Make sure you check in with us on our new newscast, WRAL. It may be that we have a tropical depression at that point. There's a good chance that this develops, but the big question is it going to affect the United States? It does initially head to the west, but what happens after that, we'll see. Some of the models want to curve that out to sea, but it's just really too early to make any sorts of estimations on what will happen. I can tell you it turns much hotter for us toward the middle and the end of next week. We're back into the 90s.
And before we go to break, we do want to get you a look at your winning NC Education Lottery numbers, and we'll have Ken Smith giving you a traffic update here in just a couple of minutes.